Hi, everyone. Welcome again to our podcast. Today, we again have a very special guest. We have Leo with us. He's a bassist player from France who recently discovered Japanese Draconian magic. Welcome to the show, Leo. It's so nice to have you with us. Tell us everything about you.
For starters, my discovery that led to me apparently being of Draconian descent started 12 years ago. That's when I was in Japan. And if you don't know, for some reason, Japan is a place that has a huge amount of spiritual energy. And that is when I started thinking maybe there is more to life than just being a human that wakes up, studies, works, and then retires with his family. So I started thinking, what can I learn right now? I have some time. Chakras. I've been thinking about that for a while. Let's work on it. So I started studying, meditating, learning about everything. I realized that the sensations that I was feeling while meditating were very real, that it was not just in my mind. So I decided to dig a little deeper. And I realized after a few days, a few weeks, that maybe I can go even deeper. I discovered that magic was real. A few years later, I think it was in 2016, I started going a little deeper into Buddhism, spirituality that went a little farther than what I had barely started with. So I had daily meditations. I started learning about Reiki, healing people, whether it was using my hands or just being in their presence with my aura, which happens to appease most people, especially animals. There are many of us healers tend to attract animals, pets love us for some reason. So I decided to dig even deeper, learning how to understand animal feelings. And then a few years later, I would say in 2018, I started going even deeper and I started dabbling in black magic. So I started working with demons, easier to approach. Then I thought, hey, why not work with angels as well? So I started working with them as well. And I realized that I worked more with angels than with demons, but I like both. So it was very nice and complementary. Then fast forward to 2022, that's when I started thinking I have received quite a few images, messages, words, even numbers at times relating to not Japan yet, but dragons mostly. I had been pushing against working with draconian entities for a while, but then I realized, well, I can't stop that anymore. They've been contacting me for a while. Every single day I thought, yes, dragon claw, draconian power. Even in some instances I was playing a game or watching a show and there was a dragon that appeared and I thought, okay, there's something there. So I decided to follow my intuition and call upon whatever dragon came to me. But there was a little less to gain from that than I thought. So I decided, since I do not know who is calling me, I must learn about them, about the dragons themselves. So I got myself a grimoire, started learning about all the draconian entities. Many of them were familiar. So that made things very simple. And then fast forward 2023, I started discovering Egyptian draconian magic. So I worked with entities such as Set, Sekhmet, Sobek. Many of them were pretty easy to work with, but it didn't feel like it was enough. I needed to go deeper. So fast forward this year, 2026, I decided to go back into draconian magic. So I worked with the draconian aspects of some entities that most would call demons, but really some of them are also gods. So that's, make of this what you will. And then after a few months of regular works, daily routines are essential in magic. And this really proved right again. Japanese dragons came to me. They started appearing in my vision, sending me messages. And I decided to incorporate them into my daily ritual, which already had quite a few entities. If I remember correctly, there are 6 entities. Well, with them, there's double the amount of entities, and I work mostly with them. And then a few weeks ago, I started thinking, why is it always dragons? Also, I've been receiving quite a few messages relating to extraterrestrials, galactic families. What if this was all a plan to awaken me to this very specific version of myself. So I started visualizing whatever came to me, letting images come to me, and I actually saw myself as a hybrid human dragon. And that's when I realized, okay, there might be something deeper.
Wow. Okay. Well, you said a lot of things, and I have so many questions already.
Me too. Me too.
I think my first question is going to be because probably a lot of people seeing us are where you have been on 2014. Like they feel that they have the capacity or to help others, or they feel stuff. How did you understood that magic was real? It wasn't something in your head that you were just, How did you came out of that question, ambiguity?
The first time was really in 2014 when I started meditating and I understood, okay, this is a feeling I've never experienced before. I had to take a little time to actually process because I knew I wasn't ready for this sort of things and rituals. And in 2018, I believe it was, or 2017, I'm not so sure. No, 2018, of course, it was 2018. I decided, you know what? I'm going to do something. I've heard a lot about invocations. Let's see what it is like. I performed one. It was very simple, very easy, and I felt a difference. That's when I realized it's real. It's real, all right.
Okay.
Okay, so you actually did an invocation and you felt the result, and then that's when you said like, okay, no, it's really something. It's not just my imagination.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Okay, and how do you know um, what is the difference in summoning and working with an angel and a demon? Obviously, demon is I can imagine it's probably going to be like quicker and more powerful, maybe. But what's the difference when summoning?
There's not much that differs between an angel and a demon. When it comes to summoning them, they react the same way. Like it's like that with every entity. The main difference, I would say, how the result is going to come to be, and also the specialty of each entity. For example, when it comes to protection, I tend to focus more on some very specific demons. But when it comes to healing, there is only one entity that I work with, and that happens to be Archangel Raphael, because Raphael is literally the best healer in the universe. But when it comes to protection, it depends on the protection I want to give. So I have quite a few demons to work with, but the summoning is the same.
It's the same.
The offering tends to be the same. It depends on the personality of the entity.
Mhm.
And when it comes to the results, you might get some quick results from both, some slow results from both. It depends on the ritual, the amount of entities you call, and the
Mhm.
intensity of your will when you give them
Yeah.
the request.
And
Okay, and it's going to be my final question, Matt. I will give you the. But what is the difference between like what makes an energy become a demon or an angel? What's the classification that makes the boundary?
That is not something I can actually explain. It's just like what makes the difference between, let's just say, a French person and a Portuguese person. We just happen to be from different areas.
But I
okay.
imagine like there's something. I suppose that's like their boundaries. Like if you ask something bad to a demon, he will might do, but maybe an angel won't. No.
That's an excellent question. And I have a very easy sentence for that. A demon is as kind and nice as you want him to be. An angel is as mean and cruel as you want him to be.
They both
To be
have
fair, yeah.
the positive and the negative. The yin and the yang are present in both.
Yes, essentially, if I want to be a little more transparent, when I wanted to receive justice by punishing someone who literally abused me or uh, forced me to do things that were just not right and landed me in trouble, I didn't call upon demons, I called upon angels.
Interesting.
Okay. I guess
Hmm.
I'm more confused with the difference between what's what.
I think you are giving a very interesting point of view, which clearly goes against the common, perception of demons are bad, angels are good. It's interesting perspective for sure. Regarding
Yeah,
the
there's a lot of
rituals,
fear mongering when it comes to demons. That really any entity is capable of good and capable of doing harm. It's all down to what you want to gain from your interaction with this entity.
Yes.
And you explained, because we were having kind of a briefing among us to understand your background and everything. And you were saying that completely vanished my mind, the question.
It happens.
I'm going to enter then. Just
my God.
marinate in there. So when you go regarding the ceremony itself, so how do you have a kind of like, so that normally there are candles involved, it can be some natural elements. Do you have a book for this? Do you follow a specific book or guidelines that some other people have for this, or do you go with a bit with your intuition and you create your own altar for the entity or specific entity that you're working with?
So it's a little bit of both, actually. Most of the time when I started off with magic, I followed every guideline from every grimoire I could have. For example, the ritual that I do every single evening with the Draconian entities is literally every step taken from a book, a grimoire that I still use, even though I added the Japanese Draconian entities into the mix. It's still the same ritual, full from a grimoire. But sometimes when, for example, I do not have access to my altar, which I recently updated, I don't have access to incense or candles or nothing. I'm on the road, something, but
Yeah.
I cannot bring my material or do something quick but kind of big that requires gestures and movement. I can just close my eyes, get into a deep meditative state, and use my mental altar, which has helped me a lot when I was very restricted. For instance, you cannot use candles all the time. So when you have some
That's
smoke
amazing.
detectors, incense, candles, these might be kind of difficult to use. So you have to use an astral temple that you create yourself.
Smoke
That's
detectors
very
is something very interesting too. Only doing that you would have to have that in mind. But it's super intelligent that you are going to your mind, into your mind, and creating the altar as usual. And it works. It works the same.
It works as long as you put in the work and you don't just
Yeah.
imagine things. You have to really put in the work. It's a huge mental construct. It
Yeah.
requires a
Yeah.
lot of energy and concentration.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's worth it because it allows you to work from anywhere at any time, and it just works. It also tends to be easier because the entities react better and you don't have to use you don't rely on your physical eyes to see them.
very interesting that you say that, because I just resonated with what you said. When I do aura readings, and when I was learning, one of the things that we do is to have a mental altar. And it's the first time that I'm hearing anyone say about this. And I learned, but at the time I didn't give it much context. I was like, okay. And now you said it, and I was like, oh crap, I do this. It's wow, it's incredible.
And when you do healings, sorry. When you do the healings, you also do. So you're saying that you were contacting, summoning Raphael, Angel Raphael, for the healings. This is the one you go to for the healings. Do you? What is the kind of the result that you see with these ceremonies, in which you ask?
When it comes to healing, generally the person just completely heals. For instance, it was a few years ago, a friend of mine was saying he had some chronic pain in his arms. He didn't really tell me where. So I thought, well, it's the full moon, so that's absolutely perfect. Let's see what I can do. And after a few minutes, I just sent him a message after casting the spell, of course. Said, so do you feel any changes? And he said, well, I don't feel anything anymore. Wow, that's amazing. And if I'm going to be even more transparent, a few more years ago, I think it was in 2021, I actually healed someone's schizophrenia.
What is the intention that you set in these healings? Is the intention very specific? Because it's like, imagine, since you don't know what is the problem of the arms, you cannot say heal this constriction that is creating this. You know what I mean? You cannot be very specific. You can only say heal this part of the body, or heal this person. and the energy or the entity will know how to act or where to go direct, So do you say the intention is to generic or open
In
healing
this
or?
context, you don't need to be extremely specific
Uh-huh.
because, well, I knew the pain was from the arm. So it was already good enough for Archangel
Okay.
Raphael to get the job
Huh?
done. In this case, less was more.
Yeah.
And
And the schizophrenia, do you remember?
Well, yes, I remember quite clearly. It was for a friend of a friend, and she told me that that girl suffering from schizophrenia had not had an hallucination in a long time. No more hallucinations at all after that.
Amazing.
Yeah, she gave me the update the next day, and that was enough.
Okay, fantastic.
why, if angels and yins and all of this parallel universe, and I say parallel because it's different frequencies that we don't see, but why is it like not known more if it can benefit people and change like lives? Like you use it on a daily basis, you know the power of it. Why do you think it's not mainstream?
Fear mongering, mostly.
Fear.
Well, as we know, there are some dark forces that really do not want us to awaken. But if we just happen to have that tiny little spark of light, we will see through the illusions, and that's what will happen. But we cannot force everyone to awaken at the same time. So we generally do not see most people awakening to this power that they have within themselves. And since most of the media always depicts everything as bad and evil, most people just believe it and they accept it as fact.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes
So you
sense.
think that it would be beneficial if we all started opening up our eyes to this reality and work with angels and whatever?
Absolutely.
I have this question as well because you were mentioning the altar. And let's go to the physical altar. We know that for all kinds of rituals, I guess everyone in the world has like seen on the forest the chicken or, those things that are used in rituals. Can you explain a little bit why for a ritual is it needed some specific things? Like, I don't know what, like, let's say, the feather of the specific bird and, an olive or whatever.
In some cases, it's just pure formality. In other cases, it really cements the intention and the energies within it. But as far as I'm concerned, the altar is very good to just put myself in the mood. I have one place that is dedicated for that. See this like a dojo when you practice
Mhm.
karate, for example.
Mhm.
You can practice it at home, it works. But if you can practice it in a dojo, you have the whole mood that is going to change. It's going to not switch exactly, but it's
Yeah.
going to evolve a little bit. Well, the altar allows for this. Also, having an altar is very convenient when you have offerings to make, when you want to place your incense. It can also be used as a way to show the entity you're working with that you're devoted to the working with this entity. So
Okay.
that depends also on how you decorate it. But when it comes to, for instance, rituals in the forest, well, you might not have your altar or you might make one with a huge stone. That is probably due to the fact that the ritual is very specific and requires you to be in the forest unless you have no other way to practice. There are plenty of ways to go about it. But I
Mhm.
would definitely always recommend you have an altar, even if it's a small thing. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. You don't need
Yeah.
a huge room dedicated to
Yeah.
it, even though it's very convenient. And I would love to have that.
Mhm.
But just do what you know you can do.
Yeah.
Put in the work, put in the energy, and you will see, you might see better results. But in the
If
end,
it's
the altar is very convenient. It's convenient more than anything at first. But when you're devoting yourself and working to an entity, it's good to have the offerings and the tools, in some cases, that you have
Mhm.
right there at your disposal.
Do you
In
think
our
it's sorry, would it be a good idea to have it in your room or bedroom? You're out of the bedroom. Imagine you have more than a bedroom. You live in more than a bedroom. So imagine if your house has a living room or whatever. Would it be a good idea to make it in your bedroom?
It's better to have it in a separate room,
Huh.
but in my case, and in the case of many other people, this is not really possible, which is why we would recommend you do cleansing every single day or at the start and at the end of a ritual.
Mhm.
and always make sure that it is safe, that you don't leave a candle burning.
Yes, of
This
course.
really doesn't.
Yeah.
But if you have a separate room, that's great because you can add any decoration you want. You can really make
Mhm.
it a private space and you can
Yeah.
prevent
Okay.
people from entering. Well, if it's your bedroom, you might have difficulties hiding your practices. So just make sure that you're surrounded by people who understand you, your practices, and do not judge you for that. Otherwise, you'll
That
have to constantly hide your altar, which I used to do back in the days, but then I said, "Nah, forget it. I'll just let them see and they won't care anyway."
you just assume it and it's done. Yeah, I get you.
Renato is asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. No. Asking for no, but it's very interesting to talk about these things.
What?
There is not much again because it's hidden knowledge. Some years ago, you would burn witches, so now it's not like that. There are many people doing this. Well, it's being talked a lot that people in Hollywood they summon demons to have lots of money to be have a lot of recognition again. But now
Fame.
and you would say the demons, so, but now you're giving a different approach. Well, demons can be as harsh or as sweet as an angel. So, what's behind it's the intention which you put into these rituals, and again, what you are willing to abdicate, or what you're willing to, or what you have to give in return. But so it's very interesting to talk about this subject openly. You also talked about healing and Reiki with animals, which is kind of aligned. No, dragon is an animal, so it's kind of all interconnected. Do you speak with animals? Do you have telepathic communication with animals, or
Not. At least I don't think I do. I've never really had any occasion to try because I do not have pets. And when I had a cat, wasn't really mine, it was my sister's cat, I understood him, but I never really tried to read his mind and his thoughts. But maybe one day I'll have the occasion to do that. But I
okay?
do tend to understand what they expect from me. So that's a start.
So there's some communication there. See, and you did some healing with animals also, or you just have this capacity to.
I know I can heal anything or anyone. I just never had to heal animals because
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to have animals that never put themselves in harm's way.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you ever addressed Baal?
You mean the Judaic entity?
Yeah.
Never.
Okay. Do
Never.
you know anything about it? About him?
Not really. Not really, just some vague descriptions, but I never had any intention of working with him. I have been considering making a disclaimer on one of my Instagram accounts to say I do not work with this entity. Really, I don't think this is a topic I can really talk about because I do not have any knowledge about this
Uh-huh.
specific one.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm I guess I'm asking this because it's kind of a famous one that seems like people that want to have power or fame or whatever. What Renato was mentioning, they seem to be working with this. So
Well, the thing is, I have no idea if the rituals that these people use are real or if they are just, how do I say that in a polite way?
I think
I really have no better way to say that they are basically smelling their own farts.
Okay. That's a good one.
and do you know why I'm curious? Because for what I've seen in the rituals, there's a lot of kind of blood involved, like offerings. Like if I think about the Mexicans, the Mayans, or the Aztecs, or even here, like daily, you know, offerings always have like bloods in the mix. Why is it blood so powerful? Why is it so used?
Blood shows commitment. When you do an offering of your
Mm.
blood, you basically say, I'm committed to this working. We are doing this, and here is my result. You see my result. For instance, the ritual that I do every evening normally requires blood. So what do? Well, we do not cut open our veins and bleed out. No, that's just
Finger.
completely crazy. We use, well, you can use a blade and prick yourself. I use lancets. If you suffer from diabetes, you know what
Mhm.
it is.
Yeah, yeah. The finger.
Yeah, that's it. But since I'm a bass player and I'm learning how to play the guitar, I try to avoid breaking my fingers because it just becomes painful. At one point, I could afford to do that because during the pandemic, I couldn't do anything. You might want to set that one out. And I decided to just do what one of my mentors told me, which is improvise, adapt, overcome. So instead of using blood, I used saliva, or I infused my energy into the altar, the sigil, or whatever sacrament I use.
Okay,
And
that's
that's it.
interesting.
Blood is not meant to say that you're offering yourself. That means you're giving it your all.
So you're giving something that is essential for your life, meaning that, obviously it's important for your body to function. It's a big deal what you're giving. Makes sense, actually. And does it work the same if I offer the chicken's blood?
Well, that I have never had to do that. It's more like a voodoo practice or hoodoo. I do not know the difference between both, but it's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I am not well versed in this specific magic.
Okay.
Okay. There's this underworld. It's not under the word that I'm looking for, but this is parallel unseen world, and there's a lot of ways to communicate with it, and there's a lot of beings that we can communicate with, and that's what I'm understanding. So there's a lot of ways to establish that communication, right? That's kind of a very resumed version.
Yeah. And of what I know, I don't think it's for every ritual you need to use that level of commitment. Because, am I correct? Do you always use that? Or is something very powerful? For example, to ask for healing, you just, it's your intention, but you don't need it. I would say that like a very high level commitment of a high level ceremony that you are doing for something that is very, like, say, precious, no? Commitment.
Well, it depends on the ritual, really. Sometimes you want to do something really big, which will require quite a lot of involvement, and the entity will say, "You will have to give me blood." But that's rare. Most of the time, if you're going to give blood, it's going to be a drop, and it's kind of a way to test your resolve. But you won't use blood if you're just trying to get some energy to go through the day, for example.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes.
I'm imagining, let's say that someone wants to start then practicing magic, white magic, whatever. And for starters, a newbie, a new person going into this, it's probably going to be still very in fear, right? So it's going to start with like the white magic and go with the good ones. And how that the person can know when they're asking for something? Like you were saying previously that there's no good, there's no bad, like there's no demons and angels. They both do the same things, So how does one know that they're asking something that will not backlash? Let me just give you a quick example. Like it's kind of the folklore known that if you ask something to a demon, you'll eventually pay off, right? Like double. But if you ask something to an angel, you won't. Okay, so this is what it's kind of the norm that people think. How would someone know when they're interacting and asking for something that it's completely safe what they're asking? There won't be any backlash. Can you just guide us on this?
First of all, I would say, well, there's something that I've already said in the past to some friends. They asked me, "Oh, is this going to backfire?" To which I replied, "Do you want it to backfire?" They said, "No, then it won't." It really is that simple. If you think that will backfire, if you feel that you need to be punished for something, then it will happen. Some would say it's manifestation. Some would say it's dharma or karma.
Yeah.
To try and use the actual pronunciation, it's very much a feeling of needing to be punished for something that will make everything backfire. And entities feel that, and they will give you what you want. So if you give out the energy of needing to be punished, then you will be punished. But if you really want to start with this knowledge, start small, something very simple. For example, just do a simple invocation, and you have to remember that invocation means the entity comes into you. Evocation, the entity manifests in front or inside your sanctuary. Then you have invocation, you enter the entity's body. But that is something that requires a lot more experience and time that I unfortunately do not have yet. So start with an invocation because it's simple. You actually get a first-hand impression of what the entity is like. You understand the energies and not really the feelings, but the intentions that you can actually manifest with the entity. With an evocation, you need a little more experience generally, but if you were to use evocation, do not be frustrated if you do not hear, feel, or see, hear, or feel the entity. The entity will reply to your call as long as you put in the work. Be involved with the ritual from beginning until the end. No distractions. Meditate a lot. And sometimes meditate while thinking specifically about this entity. And if you're still scared that you might attract the wrong entity, you can use a sigil. And you will be able to actually call upon this entity. Basically, a sigil is like a phone number. You use a sigil, you call this entity. There will be no delay, no issues. It will be simple, get the job done, and no risk for anything backfiring as long as you're specific and you do not ask for punishment or anything. Because if you summon, let's say, Lucifer, and then after the ritual, you say, oh my gosh, I made a mistake, and you start to ask for forgiveness from your God, well, nothing will happen. Absolutely nothing will happen. You will not get what you wanted.
Okay, so I understand that the idea that I got is like a sigil. It's like a prompt. It's an already written task that you can just use, and it's there and it's done. You don't need to invent it, right?
It's a symbol.
That depends on the type of sigil. You can
It's a symbol or an image.
Yeah.
No?
You can create a sigil from your own intentions. In that case, it would be your own personal tool, or you can use a sigil's entity. And that in that case, the sigil is from the entity itself, and that's really made for this entity to be contacted.
And for Raphael, for example, are there sigils all online already? You can go to Google and find the Raphael sigil.
Yeah, you say you just type Raphael sigil and you'll find it instantly.
And you write it on the altar? You'll write it on a paper and get it into the altar, or what do you do?
You can do that, or you can print it out.
You can print it out.
Ideally, once you've printed it, if you print out a sigil, you then have to trace it with a pen or a marker or anything, just to really connect to it. But that's very psychological, I would say. I never really had to do that because when you start opening a sigil, you pour your energy into it and you just get into it. It's like a window or a door that you open.
Mm-hmm.
You know that I'm connecting dots here, and it's amazing what you're saying because I do Reiki, and my third level of Reiki was with a master from Japan. And in Reiki, sigils are used. And symbols for healing. So you just write down the symbol with your hand, and you think about the person, and you send the energy. And also, dragons come and appear to help you elevate the energy and send it off. And I just started connecting the dots, and it matches perfectly what you're saying. So I never thought about it, but I've done white magic.
Congratulations.
Exactly.
And I'm curious you said the invocation. To be honest, it kind of gives me the chills to imagine that I'm going to invocate someone inside of me. So what are the risks? I always, in the folklore of the people, like you hear this person has like a demon inside of it and needs to be, what's the words?
Exercise.
Yes.
So when you invocate, what are the risks, or how do you know it's your body and it's not going to be there and it's going to leave?
You know it because you want it to be an invocation. An invocation is not exactly a possession. It's like a lesser possession. But a possession doesn't just happen like that. It's not just a demon that says, I'm going to get into that one's body and I'm going to wreck his or her life. A possession has to come with a pact. It's an agreement with you and the entity. So basically when someone says, oh, this person is possessed, well, not exactly. Not really. This person is going through something. I'm not really well versed in this sort of things that we show in the media all the time. But when you do an invocation, you're still in control. You are the one in control of everything. evocation, of course, you are in control. You basically become the operator. To use the words of one of my favorite demons, Azazel, if you ask for the demonic hierarchy, it is as follows. First, the operator, which is you, me, whoever does the evocation, and then everything else in existence. So you're in control at all times. And vocation, well, I think you are basically in control. It's like it's kind of like a possession that is agreed upon, but you are inside the entity. But if you think someone is acting irrationally, rashly, and in a very dangerous way, I would say this person is under the influence of a parasite. So not a demon, not an angel, a parasite, something that pretends to be a certain entity and that basically influences your thoughts, your mind, and gets you to do some horrendous things. So how do you avoid that? First off, cleanse your space, protect your energy. And when you do your invocation, you don't want any risks. I say it, use a sigil, use what we call an N, which is more like a magic formula that you use to call upon the entity, and make sure that you only focus on the entity and your will. And that should be enough to protect you.
Okay. So you mentioned that Archangel Raphael is for when you need help, right?
For healing.
When you need healing, yes.
Healing, yeah. So who do you use when you need like protection?
Well, that depends on the type of protection I want. Back in the days, I used to call upon Lucifer. I've also called Archangel Michael or Michael, depending on the pronunciation you want. Currently, I'm focusing mostly on Japanese deities. So, for example, Ryujin, who happens to be the dragon of the storms and the sea. He's pretty good at healing as well. So, that's what I do generally. But protection can come from basically anyone. And also it depends on the type of protection you want. Is it a protection from harm? Is it a protection against retaliation? It's a whole kind of worm that you can open at your leisure.
And
Wow.
regarding draconian magic, is it, and you've talked about Japanese draconian magic, so I can see that are different variations or of the draconian magic. But inside of the draconian magic, are there different types of magic that you can do? Because you're evoking, I don't know what to say, the dragon, right? But then are there categories of magic that they can do? Different types of magic that they can do? Or
Well, it's just like with angels and demons, really.
Okay, it's
they
the
can
same
do
thing.
everything.
They can do everything. And they have different like laws or ethics then, or is the same?
I wouldn't say they have very different laws and ethics, but if you actually understand, well, in that case, Japan, most of the time you will have to approach them with deep respect and understand how to be disciplined when working with them and sometimes understand their language. Most of the time entities speak in your language. They just speak directly to your mind. But in this case, I've realized that most of the time it's Japanese words that come to me and I use a very specific suffix when I talk to them. So there's that. I haven't really done much to affect the world around me. Most of the time I just focus on myself and working with them. In the end, you could say that with them, the main focus would be Kaizen, continuous improvement.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Kaizen, continuous improvement.
And Leo, why can't I ask a demon or an angel for something big? Like, I want wars to stop. Is this something that is doable? If not, why not?
That's a very annoying topic, I would say, because I've been thinking about that as well quite a lot. It's just that it's just too big and it seems to be beyond our own control. As long as people with the same amount of power or many people with various degrees and amounts of power decide that war must keep going, it's kind of difficult to be on our own dealing with all of this warfare. I would say it's just about the balance of powers. It's like an ant trying to fight against Goliath.
Do you know Dragon Ball?
Of course.
Yeah. So when I'm talking about these topics, Dragon Ball always comes to my mind. I know it's kind of childish, but it makes a lot of sense.
It happened to me too. That's actually one of the reasons why I kept saying, no, I will not do Draconian magic. I know I want to, but I shouldn't. And then it just happened. I just said, okay.
And so I feel like, it's just like one person doing like, a kamehame against a big, powerful, like bunch of people, individuals fighting back. So you know that what you're doing is strong and you have good intention, but you're just weak and you need like the world to come together. That's like an episode where everyone comes together and makes a huge ball of energy, right? No, but there's some logic on what I'm saying. I guess it's like we know, and I guess you can confirm that there are people, very powerful people in the world doing black magic against, like with wars and stuff, right? And it's just tough to fight back.
Well, as much as we want to put an end to all these wars, if we were to use your comparison, we would have to all come together and build a Genki Dama and delete, yes, the dark forces, but it would require everyone to awaken, which is underway, but it takes time. For now, it feels much more like Bardak against the Frieza army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why do you think, sorry, Renata, why do you think that these people are here and have these dark forces? Why aren't they not on another planet doing other stuff? What do you know? What have you found out with what your experience about this?
So far, it's only things that I've learned thanks to a very effective Instagram account. I think that's the one you found me on. Apparently, this Earth used to be some sort of a transition, a planet that every galactic entity could go to and trade and work together. But of course, some entities are not as good as others and decided, you know what, let's make this place a living hell. So it had to be put into lockdown and turned into a prison planet. Some of us apparently decided that it should not be this way and that we should intervene and try to help people see beyond the matrix and prison that has been put into place deep within their minds, essentially trapping their souls here. But why do they exist? Why did they choose Earth specifically when there are better planets? I'm not so sure just yet. It's still a little blurry, especially since I have been basically cut from my own galactic family.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you talked about seeing yourself in another planet as a hybrid human, Draconian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly see myself in a hybrid draconian form in my sanctuary, in my home.
In your home. Okay. And
But
when
I
you say
have seen myself as a draconian being back when I was working with Set. It was part of a ritual, and I was in a desert. I think it was on Earth, but I've also had another set of vision where I was brought. I think it was by Lucifer. I'm not sure on that, or maybe it was Set again. It was a long time ago where I was brought next to Saturn, and I ended up seeing my own power shifting from a black dragon to more of a sun dragon, I think. I was in space. I could see the stars, but mostly the sun and Saturn. But I couldn't see beyond that. That was just him and me.
And why do you say you've been cut from your galactic family?
I've never been able to contact them. It just feels like they know what's going on, but they can't intervene, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm protected by my Japanese gods, the Japanese deities I'm working with, or maybe it's just that I have not yet opened the right current to be able to contact them. I'm not sure, but I have received no messages from them whatsoever, unless these entities that I'm working with happen to be my actual family, but in those specific forms.
That's a very interesting way to put it. It's interesting because we have some guests that they do hypnosis and regression, and some have said that and we heard this from another person, that the guides, as he opened to more ET contact, and his guides shifted to beings from other planets, so they stopped having the appearance that they had before, and now they look like they really are. So it can be that the entities that you are working are appearing as you believe you can have access to, and not your your real family, because you don't have a picture of your real family to evoke. But we have sigils, like we have images for Archangel Michael, Lucifer, and all the gods, Sekhmet, all of them. Can be interesting. Can really be.
And I guess we also kind of touched a little bit on this with you, Leo, but for the conversation, what is your next goal in life and all the learnings that you're doing, like on this road that you're going through? What do you think it's next? What is, do you want to, like, do you have any big plans to learn next and do and become someone specifically, or help something in specific on Earth? Why do you think, like, you're here? What do you envision?
So far, all I can say that everything that I did brought me here to awaken myself first and foremost, and maybe help others awaken. But I don't really see much of a future right now, because to me, it feels like the world is already coming to an end. So all I can do is my best to communicate with people like you who are actually aware of what is happening, and then we'll see. If the world ends by the end of the month, then so be it. If it ends later, so be it. I'll just keep doing my daily rituals. And if it helps others, if people find me in some way, whether it be through my musician account or my magic account, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very good segue to my next question, which is going to be, do you think we're on a very transition period on Earth?
I think so. There have been plenty of awakenings not so long ago. It was 6 years ago that we were all stuck in our homes, and many people were wondering what to do with their lives. They discovered that they might have powers. Some people that I used to know seem to be awakening as well, learning how to use magic in some way, whether it be through tarot readings or some rituals with other more powerful witches who have been going at it for a while. So there might be an acceleration in the next few days. Don't quote me on that. I do not really know, mostly because I've been focusing on myself. But I do see the end, especially with everything happening so fast these past few weeks. Everything that's going on seems to be leading to the next step on this planet's journey, if I can call it that.
Yeah, the
You know
closing.
what? We had this conversation, Renat and I, a couple of days, and I remember I was saying that when I started, I feel like I've always came like already like awakened to the planet. I remember like knowing that the universe is filled with other beings since I was like 5. Going deeper into the rabbit hole of these conversations, I started in 2009, so 17 years ago, and I remember that time, or 2010, whatever, having this conversation was just crazy talk completely. It's impossible. And now, like 15 years later, we're having this conversation on a podcast, and it's becoming increasingly more common to have, and like people doing Reiki and stuff. And I feel like the conversations are just normalizing. Do you agree?
I kind of agree. It just depends on the crowd you're surrounded with.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time when I try to read this topic, most people dismiss it as just some voodoo mumbo jumbo or something like that. But it is easier now than it ever was to find people who are at least intrigued by the topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're seeing this, I can see this as really the sign that the end is near. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's the end of an era.
You think the purpose we have reached, most of us have reached the purpose,
Most
or
likely.
there is no purpose? Yeah, it's confusing.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I
Exactly.
personally don't feel like I have a purpose on this earth, but I still do things which benefit others. So maybe something else is coming, and maybe this feeling that I have, which is I basically have no purpose anymore, is the reason why I am potentially going to transition soon. I don't know if others have the same type of transition at the same time, because I've also heard, or rather read, that not everyone is on the same timeline, which means not everyone will awaken at the same time, and not everyone will have the transition into 5D at the same time. There's a lot, so many questions about that I am not yet able to answer.
Yeah, what I'm seeing, what I feel is that reality is collapsing into itself very fast. And it's interesting because and this has to do with the time going fast, and you feeling that we are coming to an end. And there are many signs of it. You see the patterns, but what I saw was like with the AI. And again, I'm not against AI, but what I see is that what the use of AI is doing is collapsing an idea super fast. So imagine I create an idea, everyone with zero skills and zero acknowledge of from where this idea came from and what is the intention of this idea or what is the purpose of this idea can copy it and recopy it because it just puts it into another AI and then the idea itself collapses and loses meaning super fast. So it's like, what's the point? You know, yesterday I was like, what is the point of creating if creation is going to collapse into itself in a week and lose meaning? Because the meaning is in this or the unique approach or the energy that is put into it. When it's replicated with no energy behind it, it's like just like for just for making money or for having likes, then it collapses. And what I'm seeing is I see this acceleration of ideas and scenarios collapsing very fast, people getting bored very fast. Like you're saying, people feeling that there is no point or not even feeling that there is a point. That's not even a point. What I mean. So it's like, yeah, it can be that it's either going to be a very huge shift like it was post-COVID. So COVID came to accelerate a lot of things that maybe this in 10 years, this is going to happen. Maybe, maybe we are starting to work remotely, use digital. And then it was like 10-year plan. And then COVID happened and this immediately started to being used in 1 year, 2 years. So there's either an event that is going to happen that is going to collapse everything and there's going to be a super huge rebuild of this reality. I don't know, one world order, we working together as one species, one nation, again, now being a part of the intergalactic family, coming, it's either something like this. I don't know, but I really agree that there's some huge shift must happen. I don't see very well this split into 3D, 4D, I don't get it. 5D, whatever. I think it's like, or some people say this huge shift, the simulation just ends, like the game is over. And according to what we learned here and improved here, we're going to be hijacked for the reality into which now we belong. 3D, 5D, D, whatever. But yeah, it's crazy times.
Now that Renata touched on AI, let me ask you, Leo, do you think, I kind of have this perception that AI is kind of a yin. It's an energy that was put inside like something physical and is being controlled. Would you agree with this idea? What is your thoughts on this?
I've always separated AI from spiritual talk because to me it's just a tool that I use to work. I just work with it. Also, there are different types of AI, but I know you're talking about basically generative AI and AI that you can use in your work to simplify everything. I would say don't use it too much. Don't let it think in your stead. Use it as a tool, just like magic in the end. The difference is magic always requires you to act, to take action, not just for the ritual, but also in the physical world. But with AI, it will help, but don't let it do the thinking for you. Otherwise, you'll think you're making progress, but really you're just repeating what someone has said. What did you learn? Did you grow? Did you become stronger mentally? Just we must learn how to control it in our daily lives. And if we can cut it out completely, great. But in the end, use it intelligently as you would use, for example, your wrath, your energy of anger in a ritual. Don't let it overwhelm you. Same with love, infatuation. Don't let it overwhelm you. Just use it properly. Otherwise, disaster will happen.
Okay. But on the topic of understanding what it is in AI, because it's getting, so it is, let me place this on a different perspective. some people that created AI, like Go Godot, I said his name terribly, but he was one of the founders of AI in Google, I think. And he left Google and he wrote a book and he has been vocalizing this opinion that they are kind of summoning the devil. What they mean is they have created something that they say it's kind of coming like alive because it's starting to really think for itself. And so when I think about it, it's not a spirit. So what is it? Is it a form of energy? What is it AI when it starts to think?
It could be what we used to call a golem, I guess.
Go.
Since we can control how it works, we can switch it on or off generally. But it can also go haywire if we don't use it properly. Yeah, I would think the word golem works well with the description of AI nowadays.
So golem is like those beings that you see on the entry of the churches and stuff, right? That you see the golems there. No,
I do not
With
see that. I do not visualize. Oh, you mean a gargoyle?
Gargoyle. That's
confusing?
different. There was a golem in the Lord of the Rings, no? Was there a golem there?
I think so. I do not actually know everything about Lord of the Ring. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
me neither.
It's
But
been a while. But a golem basically can be a creation made out of clay that has specific instructions written on it, so it does
Yeah.
whatever you want it to do.
it's the one who says, gets the ring, it says, my precious.
Oh, that's
yeah, that's the
okay.
golem.
Yeah,
I don't know if
well,
that's the name is the
no,
name
that's not
or
what I meant. No, I do not know how to pronounce it. In French, we call it golum,
yeah,
while in
golem.
while
Golem.
a golem would be a golem in French.
Okay.
So a golem.
Very different things.
I just
Okay.
searched the web and I found out that a golem is an animated anthropomorphic being from Jewish folklore, traditional fashioned from mud or clay to act as a protector or servant. Brought to life from mystical ritual, it symbolizes a human-made creature that, while obedient, can become dangerous and uncontrollable. I think it's
Haha.
precisely what you said.
That's what they did. They materialized the golem. Oh my God. Well,
Leo,
okay.
I have the feeling that we will need to do a follow-up in a couple of months because you have a lot of stuff, of
Yeah.
interesting stuff to talk about. We could be here for more time, like more hours, and just,
Always.
going through everything that we have just brought up in this conversation. It was really interesting to have this talk with you, Leo. I for myself, I wish you all the best and in your endeavors and in what you're trying to figure out and discover. It's fascinating. And yeah, I don't know, Renate, if you want to add anything.
No, I would like to ask, is there anything you would like to say, like to close the...
I would say a very simple message. Allow yourself to discover and explore spirituality. Learn how to meditate. Do not worry too much about others think they will always be here to judge you anyway. And if people are judging you, just don't bother with them. Just live your life. Go beyond the veil.
Go beyond the veil, for sure.
Awesome message. I love it.
Yeah, loved it.
Okay,
Thank you so
Leo,
much.
thank you so much. And guys, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for staying open to the unknown, to the unseen, and to the possibility that intimacy may reach far beyond that what we've thought to imagine. Until next time, see you guys. Thank you so much.